The Super Bowl is over, so big board season has begun here on Splash Play. Your pre-NFL draft tournament, we're going to have 20 rounds, $250,000 to first place. And the good news is last year I got 3 finalists across the board there with less than 70 entries in that tournament. Also finished top 80, 85, I don't know, some top 80, or top 100, who cares? Let's get into it here, and we'll see what we get in this one. The only guy's name I know in this one is Al Boogie, who was a paying member. I don't know if he still is right now, but we'll see what we get in this one, picking from the 2 hole, and maybe we'll get a taste of Saquon Barkley at the 2 spot. What a treat. We're drafting here an Underdog again. If you want to join in draft season bright and early, promo code SPLASH gets you a $1,000 deposit match. Underdog right now. And with the NBA taking a little all-star break here, with the NFL now over for the year, I don't know, good time to gamble on, I guess, 2025 things, 2025 NFL season things. In here at the 12-man, yeehaw. Congrats. I always love when people are on in my draft rooms. We know that. Yo, what up, Spags? Appreciate you guys being here. Let's see what we get. So we got Saquon at the spot. We got Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. Could reach up for Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua. I hate this. I hate this. What is this world? This is not what I want. This is not what I want. We're going to do it. Saquon Barkley, first pick here in our post-Super Bowl life. The guy who finally fucking failed for everybody in the showdown slate on the Super Bowl did not make a winning lineup with, 70% of the field, 75% of the field playing him, as we speculated here on stream. And yes, we are taking Saquon here for the first one. Yeah, it's still the premise remains. I'm not looking for it. I appreciate you behaving yourself. Still just want a pristine draft experience, not the regulars, but we'll deal with it today. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for Best Ball Brian being here. Always a good tweeter. Hey, beautiful. Appreciate you. And hey, beautiful, right back at you. Is just a bunch of men calling each other beautiful here on stream? But an RB heavy start here, as usual. 3 RBs in the top 4 picks, and we get 3 RBs in the top 5 picks here. So as the ADP landscape right now. Do I have a lean between Saquon, Bijan, and Gibbs? I feel like we haven't seen the full upside seasons from Bijan and Gibbs yet. We certainly did just see it for Saquon here. So that's my really big concern for Saquon. He kind of feels like your CMC this past year. Not saying he's going to get hurt like CMC did, obviously. The role should be good. You are losing, and this is the thing with Jalen Hurts, the thumbnail, put him on there. He won the Super Bowl. He deserves his flowers. Was a player that I certainly thought was your skeleton key to winning all the Super Bowl gambling stuff out there, including your showdown stuff. He came through in a major way. Cool photos as well of him looking like a badass throughout that. Him on the floor with the Lombardi trophy, him and the pack of people, with the flashes all going off around him. He looked like a monster in that game. You're losing Kellen Moore, though, it seems like, going to be the Saints head coach based on everything we've seen, based on the reporting out there. So I do worry for the Eagles, how much of this came down to the coordinators. Your big change from year to year was just bringing in elite all-star level coordinators like Kellen Moore, like Vic Fangio. Moving into another year, Nick Sirianni getting likely a big contract. Does he actually deserve that contract? I think these are legitimate questions for the Eagles offense this year. And frankly, you win that Super Bowl, you get over the hump. That's basically what you're getting for the most part here. So for the situation with the Eagles, I think obviously they're going to be at a high right now, having just won the Super Bowl. People always going to follow what their eyes just saw. But I think there's reasons to have some vague concerns about the Eagles moving forward. There's going to be vague concerns for everybody. Obviously, it's always the case in the NFL every year. But think they got a very fortunate outcome this year with the outlay of the teams around them. I also think that if the Commanders had somehow not lost by 30 points, I think you could be looking at Jay Daniels being the first rookie to win a Super Bowl. But yeah, it's another alternate door. A new OC for the 7th year. There we go. Good morning. Our guy Steven here. Appreciate it. Yes, it's always a great day for some Splash Play big board drafts. I think we can all agree with that one. We'll see what we get. Obviously, at a certain point, got to not take RBs. But let's look at the ADP landscape right now. Things moved around since the last time we've drafted, I'm sure. Brock Bowers hanging in here, 17 pick. A.J. Brown, 18, has come up from where he started. Initially, he was around 30. Now he's at pick 18. And again, he's still one of the best receivers in football. Whatever critiques I may want to have about losing Kellen Moore, I think A.J. Brown probably was undervalued going at 30. Now much more appropriately priced going at 18. Lad McConkey here at 20. He has stabilized a little bit in that area. Jonathan Taylor, who did win BBM for at least one person out there who won BBM. Was he on the BBM winner? He was on one of the tournament winners. I'm not sure if he was on the BBM winner. Jonathan Taylor going here. Josh Jacobs going real high. You do finally get Marshawn Lloyd in, theoretically, for the Packers this year. We'll see how that goes. Thanks to David. Yes, did finish top 15 on drafters. Appreciate the kind words by David here. Put in my withdrawal already there because we're taking our money. We're taking our profit and running on drafters. Respect to drafters, but that's how that goes. So they have some pre-draft tournaments running on drafters right now as well, which maybe we'll do on stream at some point. We got Higgins here, likely to be your free agent wide receiver of preference. Could go back to the Bengals and be valuable there. McLaurin here as well. I mean, let's run back the hits from last year, I guess. Honestly, I really would like to take Bucky at this point, but I can't go 2 RBs. We're going to go Terry McLaurin here, and we'll see what we do with the next pick. I don't think it's a Jane Daniels reach for the record. Joe Burrow at 25 ahead of Josh Allen. Come on, bro. Really, that's what we're doing? I think we're going to try to see if Jaden will come all the way back to us. I don't think that's the most likely thing in the world, but we're going to take that shot right now because it really isn't a great ADP value on Josh Allen. I guess it's Higgins here. I don't mind Trey McBride, but got to make it up at receiver a little bit. And T. Higgins, for what it's worth, did spike in week 17 last year. So we got a Saquon, Higgins, McLaurin start. Burrow 25 is nasty work. It is, but people just unbadged drafter in the one hole, and you got to stack him up with Jamar Chase. It's such a rare combo. Appreciate the content. You fit more info into one show than most do in 10 shows. I appreciate that, Daryl. Thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words. I try to. I mean, look, that's the thing is I talk fast and I hate dead air. So 2 things I have going for me here. But it's, it's one of those things where I'm excited to hopefully ramp up to the 5-show week mark at some point here, but still waiting to negotiate things on Underdog. Should be candid with the challenge why we're a little bit slower on big board content. But of course, when I am here, I am doing the best I can prepare. Read through our pal Emo Cowboy Tyler dropped in the Discord, the VIP Discord, which you get if you join down below, sync your YouTube channel to your Discord, you get added automatically on there. And that's really where I post most of my football thoughts these days because I'm still weird, still uncomfortable with Twitter. I think I have to start posting there at some point again. And I'm probably just going to start muting shit I don't like is basically the way I'm going to approach it. But basically everything I post that's my thoughts, I post in the Discord now. And basically the Dane Brugler draft, or is rather not draft, it was just his big board top 100 prospects. He had 12 receivers in his top 100. He had 8 RBs in the top 100. He also just had guys ranked in spots that don't align with any other mock draft out there. And I've said this on every video and I'll keep saying it. And I don't normally like to outthink the wisdom of the crowds this much, but frankly, with how the content industry has gone, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people are doing the work that, I think a little more half-assed than they've been in years past. And that's across every industry, but I think it's been pronounced to me a little bit more in football content in recent years, especially, this past season. I really think there's a lot of people that just don't know the forest and the trees with the draft this year. And I strongly believe that maybe it's another historical class here, but we had a ton of great athletes in last year's class. And that's why you ended up with a lot of receivers drafted early on, a lot of RBs drafted, the tight ends in recent years as well. This year, you just don't have as many guys who are going to RAS test through the roof as much. And I just don't think it's going to be 20 skill position guys in the top 100 picks. I strongly believe that's not the case. And I strongly believe, too, the fact that you don't see uniform in these rankings where NFL.com had a 3-round mock draft that came out today. They had Quinshon Judkins being the top non-Genty RB off the board. And then in Brugler's big board, he has him at pick 70 or is him at 75 in his big board behind guys like Jordan James, who in other mock drafts goes in the 5th round. I've seen him go in the 6th round in some out there. Really think you're not getting great info, or at least not great concentrated info. And I don't think people know how to say that and be yeah, you know what? Everybody says this class is deep, but it's it is deep, but it's not deep. Just means there aren't standouts. Really strongly believe that, but I don't know. Take a look at DJ. I've looked at everybody. I don't, nothing special there to me. There really isn't anybody special I've highlighted here on stream. Uncomfortable with Twitter because it feeds you racist idiot content. I know, Adam, you love that stuff. But the For You page is just gross. The replies are gross. I don't like engaging with people because I don't think they're smart enough to justify my time. So that's not me that's not me being shitty about it. It's just I have to do work. I have shit to do. I don't want to reply to idiots who don't grasp basic concepts. So that's really the main thing for me with Twitter at this point is I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. And I also don't think it really impacts your viewership. What it impacts is your other metrics, your ability to go like, oh, well, look at my social influence or whatever. But like there are people who get so much Twitter engagement who make a YouTube channel and can't get a view for their life. So I really believe you do the platform you do. And I like YouTube is sort of my platform. Did I get the Puke Chase start? Probably easier to get it this year, but no. And honestly, still would take it this year. I have no issue with it. It's year 2 for MHJ. Don't throw guys out because they didn't have the year 1 you thought they could have. Heated Modern Twitter's the mute button. Yeah, I suppose that's it. Jane Daniels goes to this guy here. Sniped ya. How classic. Classic. Love it. love drafting. Love drafting on any platform. Really any time of year. It's going to be an awful draft season. I really can feel it in my bones already. We got a 0-1-2-0 here. We've got our anchor RB with Saquon Barkley. We have McLaurin. We have Higgins. Mixon has fallen a lot in ADP already. Ted McMillan getting linked a lot in the top 10 lately. I do like Chuba. We're going to enter a pretty big wide receiver pocket. I don't love Joe Mixon. I don't mind Chuba either. But I'm going to take Mixon here. Houston, with their offensive coordinator hire, really cemented to me going with more of an offensive-minded approach when you are not hiring kind of a pass game forward coordinator. That's sort of the takeaway for me is that you're going more of an offensive line thing, even though they seemingly didn't love the Bobby Slowick running thing. I think they actually like running. I just think they didn't like the way that Bobby Slowick was scheming up run plays. So I think Mixon is still valuable here. A Barkley Mixon start feels awful, but I think that's just what we got to live with here. Ted McMillan was my temptation play. Olave, I think when you get Kellen Moore officially hired, people start to realize what's going on in New Orleans. Potentially maybe moving on from Derek Carr or getting the most out of Derek Carr. I think Olave could come up. But I'm going to go Ted McMillan here. We'll get a little bit younger. I think going Chuba's kind of appealing as well, just to be done at RB and skim some more from a lot of pockets of wide receiver coming up. They have some pretty draftable players. We'll go Ted McMillan, though. So a 0-2-3-0 start. It's 2025. Unfortunately, 0 RB, I think, is going to be a little bit tougher to want to pull off and do it well. We got Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, and Ted McMillan at this point. Yeah, they snipe your name very appropriate here. Really would have appreciated getting Jane Daniels, but not to be the case today. So instead, we get Joe Mixon. We can't get our greatest rookie QB year ever guy going into year 2. So instead, we get an incredibly old RB who's hanging on by a thread, but is paid well enough to get the work for another year. Had about 10 big boards canceled, refunded already. Was with people trying to sabotage drafts. I mean, that's something I know. I think Davis Maddock, I saw posting about it on one of the Deposit Kingdom Discords, that somebody tried to ruin his draft on purpose and then posted in chat about it. I can't say I'm surprised that that's going to be the case. The attention people wanting attention on streams has always been a weird thing. I've talked about it enough here. I'll spare you guys the soapboxing on that. But I do think that's definitely a thing you're going to see more of this year. I think people are really confused as to how to handle best ball. My real takeaway for where the best ball industry is right now, people don't know what to do with best ball. What they saw win last year wasn't that impressive, I think, in terms of how the team itself was. It wasn't, the week 17 correlation monster. Did have stacking, but they saw the entire year. They felt they were so right about Saquon and Derrick Henry, and everybody else is so wrong. I think as a result, you're going to get and frankly, with just what 2025 is, part of why I don't like Twitter, is it's just people thinking they know better than everybody else. I think you're really getting to a lot of things going to lead to this being an apocalyptic 2025 best ball season of just people that don't know what to do. They're throwing structure out the window because they don't buy that. They feel this is going to be a thing. I know. Don't fucking dislike it. Just bear with the analogy here. They don't trust structure in best ball. They don't trust, let's say, vaccine recommendations or things like that. I think that's where we're at in the best ball landscape. And this is just based upon me seeing what I see on social media, seeing drafts as well. I think there was a period a couple years ago where every player in a room that was trying to get good at best ball was doing it in a certain way where it's you're trying to draft in these structures, you're trying to hit your pockets right and whatever. I think the people that are going to come into best ball in 2025 or the people that have just played it and not gotten results while trying to be good little school children and follow everything they were taught, they're now radicalized, just going to do dumb shit. So that's my initial assessment. That's me being 15 big boards in and getting a read in 2025, but also just seeing when people post on social media. A lot of people really got disenfranchised by how they didn't they didn't win last year. Even the guys who had like their Saquon and Henry and whatever, and then they realized, oh wow, it's just a big tournament at the end, and like in fact, having one of the best plays of the year doesn't actually help you out in those small formats. Not that that's a reason to belittle them for getting a thing right, but like they just didn't grasp that part of it because they don't get how the game works. This is gonna be a weird year. I think you're gonna see a lot of shit like this, and this is a red badge guy, but Allen and Hurts, like, that's not it. It's never it. But this is what it is. Personally, enjoy seeing the idiots. I don't. I mean, I want people to not waste their money. It's really the first part of it. But also, when they waste their money in a way that does sort of make rooms less fun, it's just not good for anybody. Ticker advice: second year guys got it. Audric Estime, sure. I mean, it's not the only one, but yeah. Don't think a majority of them are on purpose. Some people are just dumb. I mean, the people drafting the Super Bowl ones were idiots, but some of them too are probably doing other stuff. Probably doesn't exist anymore. Are you trying to dunk or something? No, it does. I shut it down. It costs more money to run than it was making. So that's business. Now I'm doing the thing that makes more money than it costs to do, which is me learning an important lesson, I guess, in the current economy. Follow the process, trust sound strategies, hope to be on the right side of variance, easier said than done, still having fun. It's really the big thing is just allotting your draft capital accordingly, balancing things out better, having your RBs balanced out accordingly, having your wide receivers balanced out accordingly. And just knowing, like, if I took Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon, I better start getting some more wide receiver talent. And at some point, Patrick Mahomes hanging on 20 picks past ADP is kind of nuts. I don't think he's a good one. We got, I think at this point, you just take Mahomes. I do think there is a world where we get the revenge of Mahomes year next year, where they just realize that they can't half-ass an entire season quite as much. I will take the 20 pick discount of Mahomes. And fair enough, DABK, that's fine. So I haven't popped in a while. I appreciate it. I appreciate the sentiment. It was a good idea, but it just wasn't enough. And frankly, seeing other companies out there doing similar things and really fighting uphill to get it where it needs to go, I don't feel too bad about where things landed. All right, so we need another receiver here. I'd like to get another receiver. Kelsey floating his retirement again is an option. Debo here. Does Debo go to KC? Would that be the kind of thing that KC would do to reload? I think we'll take a shot at Debo here. I don't love Debo. Really feel like he hit a wall last year, but also that could just be part of why he's unhappy in San Francisco. So we'll take a shot at Debo. We've got an interesting team here. This is not my usual kind of team. Not stacking early on. We're not taking any of my little crushes. We're just taking values. Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, Debo Samuel. I guess the faintest shot that KC, after losing the Super Bowl, realizes, hey, maybe we need players with talent. They go and get Higgins. They go and get Debo. I think would be your shot here. And I do think, for me and how I would view it, I really don't think that KC stands pat. I think that they recognize, as much as they're going to be able to do stuff with them being kind of hamstrung, the salaries they have. I think they try to get aggressive out there because I think they were aware, and frankly, with how they talked to the media about it. And I said it last year, like my big bet was that the Chiefs were just not going to go that ham on offense. But I think now that you have Worthy, you have one of your big weapons that can stretch the field and be useful. You now also see that you can't just get by on your defense anymore. For as much as I love my namesake, my uncle Steve Spagnuolo, that defense is not the defense it was in years past. Granted, they lost a few guys, but it wasn't enough to carry them through with the kind of half-assed approach they had in offense. Like, they have to expose Mahomes a little bit more to risk this year. So that, as a result, I think it'll lead to more offense. So that would be, I think, a thesis I'll carry with me for KC this year, is that this feels like a Mahomes, don't call it a comeback to me kind of year, where they were the best team in the league last year on paper, but like now let's see it. Let's see the offense be that, I think, is it. Debo is a Steeler-ass receiver. That's true. And frankly, that'd be fine. Mahomes got pushed up because all the people taking him in the first round. I mean, he was still, even the big board open, he was still in like the 50s or whatever, 40s. I honestly don't remember, but he was going higher than this. Let's see, checking the chats. Drafted Jaden Daniels and Devontae Adams this weekend. No, he wants to go to the West Coast. Adams has been pretty clear about that. He's putting those signals out already. I think Adams goes, well, Bay Area is a possibility. People have linked Adams back to the Raiders, which would be fucking batshit if they did that. But, I mean, it would make sense if they bring in another, they sign a Darnold kind of type, or Rodgers, I guess, is still a possibility there. Yeah, Rodgers, that was one big news item. And we're not doing the daily news updates here because there's not as much of a news flow as there is in kind of the off-season period. Or the regular, rather, the summer offseason period. But Rodgers not coming back to the Jets, it looks like. I'm surprised by that. And honestly, I think it's an impressive call for Aaron Glenn and whatever they're doing there with the new regime coming in, where normally what you do is you try out the vet one more year, and then if it goes poorly, you then throw the vet out with the bathwater and go, that was that guy's fault. Seems like they're trying to build it in their image from moment one they're starting there, which I think is a good thing. I think comes, a little more risk for the coaching staff, frankly, that if you do tear everything down and you're not good enough, then it's on you. But a little bit surprised to see Rodgers moving on, honestly. I thought they would give him one more shot there. Shout out Mr. Popinski, you did. I shamed him into getting a membership again. Appreciate you being back. And guys, really the offseason memberships, again, getting the Discord in is a big part of things, getting the data sheets that I put out as well. There's more to come. But I'm still figuring out what I'm doing between the NBA and NFL channels. But do appreciate you guys being here. And please do join down below if you want to see more of this content, because frankly, if Underdog doesn't back the Brinks truck up, maybe it keeps me going drafting on the regular here multiple times a week as you guys being members and supporting the show like that. So please do it if you can, whatever, or not. I don't know. Follow your fucking heart. Jonnu Smith, the tight end at 93. Have seen some mocks out there linking guys like Jonnu Smith to or not Jonnu Smith, linking the Dolphins, other tight ends in the draft, which I thought is a little bit odd because Jonnu had a great year in my opinion. But something to note. Travis Kelce comes all the way back. Find it hard to believe he retires. Also think at this point, I'll take the shot. Could push him around Judson here, but it's not worth it. Judson's a wild card. Going to take Kelce here. And I have a take that I'm going to give in a moment. I think that, well, I'll give the take anyway, but I want to think if I'm going to take the player or not. So Njoku goes. So I was thinking about going Tyler Warren here as well. I feel like the two tight ends in this area kind of builds worked well last year. Now that's a reason to do it. I don't mind the guys in this range. I don't mind Downs, Golden's getting a lot of first round / early second round steam out there. But I like Tyler Warren. So I know our guy Adam in chat's not going to like this. Been going over some of the numbers a little bit with Tyler Warren, in part actually because of Ben pushing on the comments yesterday about my Tyler Warren versus Ben Sinnott comparison. Still think stylistically, Tyler Warren looks a lot like Ben Sinnott, like how he plays, aggressive yards after catch guys, guys who can also take a shorter catch and make it work. I do think that for Tyler Warren, okay, so Ben's just being annoying in chat now. I'm not going to give him credit. Tyler Warren's numbers, though, grade out a lot to me like Brock Bowers do, and I don't think he's the same prospect as Brock Bowers because, frankly, just hasn't been a historical, highly targeted tight end guy who is thought to be a generational pass catcher. Like that's what Brock Bowers was from when he was basically coming out into college. But Tyler Warren, I think, can be a little bit more of a blocking type. But frankly, the fact that he got, again, less air yards than he did actualized yards, so did well with that. Also took, relatively low air yards per target, 6.5 air yards per target, which is not great. Basically saying that for Tyler Warren in the spot, 32% target per out run is basically where Brock Bowers was. Low air yards per target last year is basically where Brock Bowers was. Turning less air yards per target into more actualized yards was where Brock Bowers was. I don't think he's as good as Brock Bowers, and I do think he'll be more of a blocking tight end and probably better at that. But I think he's going to get the draft capital, and I think he looks enough like Bowers to me that I can take the shot more. He's not a great downfield target, but frankly, like I've chased great downfield targets at tight end before. Luke Musgrave being another one. I really think that for Tyler Warren at this point, I think he's worth taking shots on. So he's not as electric to me as a player as like Harold Fannin, who I think is like a fun video game tight end. But I think in terms of getting good draft capital, being able to block and get out there to be a pass catcher, I think Tyler Warren's actually grading out a lot better to me. So I think he's worth shots in this range, and I'm going to take one of those shots today. This isn't crazy for Kelce. It's where his ADP is. So no, it's not crazy for Kelce. I agree. It's not crazy. It is in fact 15 picks after his ADP. So yeah, we don't just make up ADPs because you don't like if you don't want to take a guy, more power to you. Most players I will in fact take 15 picks after ADP. It doesn't matter how I feel about them, especially when I already have their QB. I'm willing to absorb the retirement risk for Kelce here. And if he doesn't play this year, great. I have Tyler Warren. But yeah, Kelce, I'm sure can go in the 110s, but that's not where he's supposed to go normally. Oh, boy. The way the tight end positions go into the NFL, IMO favors the better athletes. Well, Tyler Warren should be a good athlete, too, at least for his size. It is a fun tight end combo. Look, I feel like we're well-built enough. We got our 4 receivers here. There's going to be shots at more receivers to go around. Going to be shots at more RBs. And we got, 2 early ones here. I can live with where we're building right now. The build right now before we enter our next couple picks, we got Patrick Mahomes at QB, a huge ADP value there. Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon as our RBs right now. Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Ted McMillan, our one rookie here. That's kind of fun. Deebo Samuel. And a tight end, Travis Kelce and Tyler Warren. You're missing where they started. You're missing where they were starting in the same area. It really didn't. Whatever. I really don't need to argue this stuff. We got 1-2-4-2 build here. Trey Harris coming down a lot in mock drafts. Hollywood Brown would theoretically stack with Mahomes, but he is a free agent. So that's not a great pick right now. One of these guys could go to New England, and I think that makes Drake May appealing at this spot. There we go, Michael. I'm not one of the Drake May guys out there, for the record. I'm not one of the ones that told you about it over and over again. We'll take Drake May here. So we get Mahomes and Drake May as our QB situation. Can also get a free Jalen Polk later, which I think is worth trying another shot at, and a kind of a dead cat bounce for him. Trey Harris is still one of my favorite rookies, but we're at a point where it's like my data versus what the mock drafts are giving me out there, and it's a little bit tough. Scattaboo, I think, is interesting, but overpriced. Devin Neal, feel the same way. I'm going to go Trey Harris. Here's my wide receiver 5. He does run a risk of being another Troy Franklin for me, a guy who graded out well based on the college data, in an offense that was pretty good, ran well, was really aggressive. I still believe in the guys that are talented enough, but do I have a comp I like for Trey Harris? He's a really good target earner in a way that we haven't seen very often. He kind of, to me, looks like a Rashee Rice, but at a better college. I guess to be the best comp, I think. Not quite as much of a yak guy, though I don't know that Rashee Rice was a monster yak guy either. But took 113 air yards a game, turned him into 129, which again was one of my big focuses of the year. A lot of the guys I feel like failed in year 1 were guys that had a little bit of an egregious air yard versus actualized yard split. So that's one thing I'm bringing up a lot, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. But I would say that for Trey Harris, the big issue is like he's a 4.55 40 guy. Guys like Adam in the chat feel like it's a little bit video gamey. People have said like he's a Lane Kiffin merchant, as though every Lane Kiffin receiver has been good, which is frankly not the case going back to the USC days. I don't think he's Anquan Bolden because the targets are a lot more downfield. He's I think a good route runner. I think to me, he plays like Keenan Allen a little bit when Keenan Allen played more outside. And he was a great out wide receiver as well. Got 8.5 of his targets a game out wide, good for a 0.53 EPA. So look, I love Trey Harris a lot. I think that you can see the 40 time on this screen here. My data sheet that you get, I have it for all the paying members of the channel. You can see it on the community tab if you want to check it out. But Trey Harris, 4.55 40 guy, around a bunch of 4.3 40 guys. Now these guys will run a 4.3 flap. They're going to be in that range. Hunter might run the 4.2s. Not that that matters because they're playing him a cornerback. Point being is like Trey Harris to me grades out really well. You could see it with all the green numbers on my sheet, but he's just, I don't think he's going to get the draft capital. And I feel about him like I felt about Troy Franklin last year, except that he's slower than Troy Franklin, bigger body. So maybe it kind of comes out differently. But he and Troy Franklin are the same thing where it's like they performed like monsters in college. I think they should be valued more coming in the NFL. And I do think they'll find their depth and get on a roster and all that. But you run the risk of him being a Brendan Rice, who I think also looked pretty good in numbers and was a downfield target, is what it is. Now you did single position rookie preview videos. Just wondering if you're planning to do updated ones. No, it'll probably just blend into the draft stuff. I don't really like, honestly, it just depends where the views are, but frankly, those videos never get views for me. So just not it. I'm better off just doing drafts. Let's see. Thank you, Ben here. Trust your rookie takes after you smashed Jaden and Bucky last year. That's true. Those were my 2 biggest fans. Them and Marshawn Lloyd. So that is the name of the game, unfortunately. But to tell you what, if ever you're going to buy low on somebody, still is Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd's ADP is now not free as he was in the previous big board drafts where he was going to the 20th round. But he is still going 18th, 19th round. Marshawn Lloyd, go back there. Well, guys, so I think are retirement risks other than Kelce and Rodgers. I really don't even think those guys are retirement risks. Like a Lockett, I think, is maybe a faint shot. I don't know that there are a lot. I think in the modern NFL, guys are playing a little bit older and hitting the wall a little bit less hard than they have in the past. That data is going to take a while to sort of materialize in a real way, but that's my initial lean here. All right, so we got Trey Benson, who you take the shot on. Rachaad White, you'd think goes back to Tampa Bay and has a shot at doing the same bullshit he did last year, a similar version of it. Jerome Ford is technically your only Cleveland RB right now. And I'm going to go Jerome Ford. Nick Chubb wants to go back to Cleveland. I think he also is live to go somewhere else and be a power back for a contender potentially if he doesn't go back to Cleveland. But right now, Jerome Ford in that backfield, they'll absolutely draft somebody else. But Jerome Ford maybe could be the thing that holds back a rookie that is not crazily impressive. Would be my hope. So I'll take a shot at Jerome Ford here in the 140s. And Benson and Rachaad White still here. Don't want those other rookies. Don't want Blake Corum, really. Isaiah Bond is going to be fast, and that probably gets an okay draft capital. Ugh, I don't love this spot. Think year 2, Trey Benson, Rachaad White. Ugh. Rachaad White just lost that role so bad last year. But I guess when you start another year, he'll probably get back in the pass protection game. Maybe a shot he gets cut and goes somewhere. I don't know that he would. I feel like I should have probably taken Benson there, just hope for a guy to be better in year 2. But took Rachaad White. 2-4-5-2 build here. We got Patrick Mahomes, Drake May, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Jerome Ford, Rachaad White. Not a Rachaad White guy at all, as we saw last year. I didn't take them all. I took him one time, I think, the entire draft cycle. But at pick 150, he is a guy who can go back to his team. And if he gets contingent value, if Bucky gets hurt somehow, Rachaad White's there. We got Terry McLaurin, Higgins, McMillan, Deebo Samuel, of course, likely to be traded. If not, he goes back to the Niners, is probably a little bit undervalued. Trey Harris, and a tight end, we took Travis Kelce and Ty Warren. So definitely more rookies than I've gotten so far on the big board. I think these guys' ADPs are reasonable enough at this point. But, that's going to change as we go. Diop tweeted he's not retiring. Not that that really matters. Yeah, he's mostly done. Mingo went at 39. Yeah, but there's other receivers to talk yourself into and faster guys. So that could be that. Bond and KC, that would be a little bit insane. You don't want another, when you have your small fast guy, I don't think you want another small fast guy. Like they need a Trey Harris type, I think. They need Tet McMillan would be a little bit reductive of Rashee Rice, I guess. That's kind of the type they need. What they need is Rashee Rice to be back and healthy, but that's unfortunately not looking like it's going to happen very early in the year. And the suspension for Rashee Rice, in case you are one of the people that drafts him, suspension time and his injury time do not double count. So he's got to be injured and then healthy, and then he gets suspended. So one thing to keep in mind. The Packers don't have any meaningful RBs in the draft. Lloyd's probably one of the absolute best clicks from a talent contingent perspective. I don't see why they would if you just spent draft capital on Lloyd last year, unless you just think that he's so injured and can't get better. But even that, I feel like they were deliberately like slow rolling him back in because they wanted him to be healthy and full go. And then when he couldn't be, they were like, well, fuck it. Let's just redshirt him for the year. But look, he's got a ton of juice. As we always talk about on this show, the most sticky thing from college to the pros for skill position guys to avoid a tackle rate, especially for RBs in particular, obviously. That's the case for guys like Lloyd. Stuck for Bucky. And then when guys also don't avoid tackles, they don't suddenly go to the pros and they're shifty. That's the issue with a lot of the guys in this class. Not a lot of guys are very shifty. Your shiftiest guys, I'll put up the sheet again because we're still, I'm sure for a lot of you guys wrapping your head around rookie stuff. Your guys who avoided tackles at a meaningful clip, 33% or higher rate or 30% or higher, let's say, and we expect that to fall to like the 20% range when they become pros. But Genty was at 33%. Scattaboo was at 31%. I really do question his ability to get good draft capital. Caleb Johnson was at 25, which is good for a big-bodied guy. Jonah Coleman, who's not going to get drafted, I think, in a way that matters, but is on a lot of the boards out there. 31% avoided tackle rate. Part of why I don't think this class is a beast, and Omarion Hampton's not too far off at 28%. I imagine he kind of settles in as like a Mixon caliber kind of avoided tackle rate guy. It's not a shifty class, and that's that. DJ Giddens, I had in that sheet. DJ Giddens has a 21% avoided tackle rate, so he's actively, in fact, not shifty as hell. He is a guy. You guys who watch college football and do this stuff and do your dynasty, whatever, I know you love your guys. I am unfortunately going to be a reality check for that because I look for specific things that have really helped me get these guys over and over again. DJ Giddens to me looks a lot like just a guy. I think the efficiency stats were okay. Let me look at another tab here. Yeah, 0.08 EPA per rush, okay. It's not great though. 21% avoided tackle rate, not great. 17% stuffed run rate, not great. A lot of your favorite guys for you guys out there. You got to be comfortable with me just being like, I think he's just a guy. And that's what works for me. Dontavian Wicks here feels like a nice value. Obviously, Josh Jacobs, you might have missed it over the Super Bowl week. Josh Jacobs caping for a new wide receiver one for the Packers. Wicks and also, I think Jaden Reed tweeted something a little bit less shitty, but Wicks basically gave him thumbs down and like laughing, crying emojis. Not the best scene, I think, for that to start. All right, so we got Corum still here at 170, which I think would be reasonable. Do you think we could still use some more wide receiver capital at this point? I don't mind taking Thielen. I will take Corum here, though, unfortunately. I hate this. But Corum, again, 17 picks after ADP. You give me guys 17 picks after ADP, I'm still going to do it if they have some sort of pathway to being useful. So a 2-5-6-2 build here. We got Mahomes and Drake May. We got Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Jerome Ford, Rashad White, Blake Corum. At receiver, we have Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, Deebo Samuel, Trey Harris, Dontavian Wicks. At tight end, we have Travis Kelce, hoping he's not retiring, but got him as a huge value. And Tyler Warren, who went up to get by a couple picks there. Ollie Gordon seems like the best shot to be that dude. No, I don't agree. He looks a lot like Tank Bigsby's last year in college numbers to me, which people also try to defend to me and go like, Auburn was so bad. The offensive line was so bad. And like, look, Bigsby got there in year 2. Maybe Ollie Gordon gets there in year 2. But like for guys to be playable in year 1 and for you to like invest in them heavily, I have to see them at this point as like a perfect prospect or a prospect with really serious merits / unique talents that other guys don't have. In particular, earning targets if you're a wide receiver, being efficient at earning targets. Ideally, if you're fast with that, great as well. But like you got to have stuff that are really a merit for it. And then you also have to have a perfect run out. I just think in general, you're going to be better off more often than not trying to critique prospects. And then when they do grade out spectacularly well, like guys like Brock Bowers, Jaden Daniels were two of my biggest stands. Brian Thomas was another huge stand for me in the big board last year. Then you go nuts on them. But like this class is nobody to go nuts on. I personally believe. The only guy, well, I'm not going to say him now in this room, but people who watch the streams know there's one guy I would say to go nuts on in this range, potentially. And if I get him, I'll talk about him. And if somebody else takes him, I'll talk about him. We also got Michael in here. I have fucking too many guys in here. Get out of here, all you guys were in the draft room. But Michael and Kev Mack, both in the chat. Hopefully they're having good drafts. I've not paid enough attention. Doesn't seem like they've done anything too stupid. So kudos to them for not doing that. It's always my test here. Have you done something that's so egregiously bad that I go, what the fuck is this guy doing? And if not, thumbs up. Ollie Gordon was a weird one because he was consensus RB1 before the season, then just fell off. I believe your most important thing to do in drafts is look at the most recent year. And obviously, I know for Adam, that didn't work out for Ladd McConkey as much because he wasn't a big enough sample size guy. His last year of college looked a little better the year before that. Still had okay metrics, whatever. So I guess he wasn't bad his last year in college. That would be a better way to say that. I'm not trying to shit on Ladd, just kind of trying to tie it all together. There he goes. Jalen Royals is it. Jalen Royals a pick 180. Guy runs in the 4.3s, had a good Senior Bowl, has better size than all the other fast guys in the class. Jalen Royals is your one wheels up guy, I think, in this range where you should take him a lot because he's probably going to get on the field and be good. But Ollie Gordon, I know Chunk talked about as well. He was a top DFS pick for college DFS as well. When you're bad your last year of college and that's what you're showing before going into the pros, that's what the pros take away for the most part. Like they might still look at a longer-term sample size. And I was talking about this with Ben in the chat as well. Basically, like, you can look at the entire college career, and if you want to grade guys off of that, you can. From my experience, and also from knowing a little bit, having been at Football Outsiders and worked with the Chiefs and worked a little bit, we dealt with people at the Combine, stuff like that. These teams are looking mostly at what have you done lately, because you can have a good year, you can even have 2 good years, and then if you fall off a cliff, it's like, well, you falling off a cliff could have been you showing who you really were. And granted, there are teams like, let's say, when there was a Belichick, Nick Saban thing, like sometimes Belichick would take guys that were not great the last year and Saban would go like, no, this guy's good. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it was just a tough year or whatever. And then that would happen. That could still happen, but I just don't think you're your money is best spent in a big board in particular, chasing guys who like you have to talk yourself into. Like you should go after guys who you have like no reason to think are a bad prospect, I think. So I think that Jalen Royals at this point is one of those guys to me where like he is way too lowly drafted, played at Utah State, so you have some critiques, but he earned targets at a high level, runs in the 4.3s, has like not fat Debo size, but has kind of a Debo size to him. Like that's the kind of guy you want more so. Woody Marks is not really a dude. He was not even that good at USC. Jack Besh has some Senior Bowl hype on him. Was in the Dane Brugler top 100 mock draft guys, which surprises me. He graded out really well for me analytically, even though I do worry about his ability to test well athletically. Nick Chubb here for another RB wouldn't be bad. I'm going to take Jack Besh. I've not taken him a lot, and he looks like, to me, a really strong analytic RB who also graded out well at the Senior Bowl. So we're going to go Jack Besh here. Wasn't here originally? It was your name draft. Oh, there we go. Saw your name. Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael. Glad you came on board here. Look, I get Mahomes for free all the time. It's one of my, it's my power over a draft room. We got a 2.573 here. At this point, we have a pretty good baseline to work off of. I do like Roschon Johnson. I do think there is a chance that Cleveland runs back a Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford backfield with a rookie, and I wouldn't be crazy. Roschon does get the Ben Johnson offense and a shot at being the hammer back there. So I'm going to take Roschon here. I think Roschon in the late 100s feels pretty good. You're probably, and I think you do run a real risk here if one of the top 10 teams doesn't take Ashton Genty. I think that Genty goes to the Bears. I think that's a pretty reasonable outcome to have there, and I would do it if I were Ben Johnson, knowing what he wants to run out there. But at this point here, Roschon, we're going to play the outcome that he ends up being your David Montgomery back in Chicago, and that would be certainly an outcome I'd be okay with. I'm taking him. So we have Mahomes and Drake May here. Still haven't really stacked up Drake May enough, but whatever. We got Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Jerome Ford, Rashad White, Blake Corum, Roschon Johnson. We got Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, Deebo Samuel, Trey Harris, Dontavian Wicks, and Jack Besh here. We feel a little bit better about now knowing that he had a good Senior Bowl. And we have Travis Kelce and Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren. It's like Ty Warren I think of because there was a football player named Ty Warren, but he is Tyler Warren. Oh, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Look, I've been doing this for a minute now, so I do appreciate the sentiment. But that's, yeah, started in Stochastic in 2018. So I've been doing this technically now for 7 years. 7 years of my life. And then was at Barstool before that. I've been doing content for 20 years of my life, which is pretty nuts. Especially with how youthful I am. I have a take that's based on nothing other than vibes. Okay, I love the start here from Adam. But I feel like when people have big freshman plus sophomore seasons, they can kind of coast and not look good their last year. True to some extent. I mean, look, I will say one thing that really stood out to me with Drake May was I loved Drake May the year before last. Thought his numbers graded out really well. Seeing him run less in his last college year, seeing him be less accurate in his last college year, seeing him kind of regress on a lot of stuff made me feel like I don't want to be here for year one. Like I don't think he is going to be great the moment he steps on the field. And that was enough to spook me off. And that's been the case for a lot of guys. Like Tank Bigsby would be another big one where people really, like I had so many tweets when I was like, I think Tank Bigsby looks like shit. I don't think his nickname should be Tank. Said a lot of things that are disparaging about Tank Bigsby. But like really just didn't think he graded out well in anything. And so many people are like, well, Auburn was bad. The O-line was bad. He was really good the last couple years before that. And what happens? He comes into the pros and he's one of the worst RBs in football. And then he finds his depth and you're back to like freshman and sophomore year Tank Bigsby or whatever you got before he came into the pros. I think that's sort of how that looks is like, when you're coming into the pros not good, I don't think you're going to be good year one in the pros. I think you're going to take a time to ramp up, and maybe you get there year two, year three. You know, Kyron Williams, same thing as well. He wasn't good. I mean, to me, analytically, didn't grade out that well coming out. Then he has 1 year not looking good for the Rams. Then year two gets a roll upgrade as a third down back for the team, and then there's like signal there, and then he gets the volume, gets there. But even then, it's like you can take the shot on him in year two. But like, don't take the shot on a guy who sucked in college. And then, I don't know. That's at least how I feel about it. But volume is volume. RB is the best predictor of future volume for an RB is previous volume. So both in the pros and in college. Even guys like Chase Brown. Like Chase Brown got a lot of volume at Illinois. Was not good with the volume. But then he found his way to volume in the pros. Obviously with Zach Moss's neck injury being a major part of that. But he held off Khalil Herbert when he got the volume. So volume finds guys. And if you want to like DJ Giddens or whatever, like that's your case for Giddens. Like, you got 20 touches in college. He can hopefully find his way to 20 touches in the pros. Shout out Sammy being here. Appreciate Sammy, one of our most beloved regulars. Be back after work. Let's fucking go. Yes, the Bills Mafia no longer no longer play for Sammy. So Squirter Mafia, full go. Gents, it'd be nice to help Caleb, but give Caleb a good run game. They use some OL help. They certainly can. They got a lot of ways they could go. But the fun one would be Genty. Putting Genty in a Gibbs slash a maybe Gibbs and Montgomery role would be pretty sick. All right, we're up here. Got to think about our end game a little bit more. Why is this lagging so much for me? Okay. 2-6-7-2. Few more receivers feel good. I like Tez Johnson. I'm going to take the shot on Tez Johnson here. He's fast. He's getting well mocked. Kind of surprised me because he's not big enough to really be a viable receiver, in my opinion. But, he did play well at Oregon. Also lived with Bo Nix's family. I saw Tez Johnson was reading up on him this morning. And it says Johnson, a very unique story for those guys. Kellen Moore, New Orleans official. No surprises there. Your New Orleans guys are too cheap. Your New Orleans guys are too cheap. And frankly, Derek Carr, as much as I am loath to go back to him again, he is also a person who's too cheap. All right. We have a 2-6-8-2 here. I mean, honestly, Kayshon Boutte flashed more for New England than I would have thought possible. Let's take him with one of these picks. Stacking up Drake May finally. It is a 2-6-9-2 build here. We have Patrick Mahomes and Drake May, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Jerome Ford, Rashad White, Blake Corum, Roshan Johnson. I don't love the back half of this team. RP. I think the top three is going to carry it. I realize a lot of my teams last year too were really carried by the top four RBs, and I kind of want to be more comfortable with that being sort of the approach. But holy shit, that is a tough RB room. Wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, Debo, Trey Harris, Dontavian Wicks, Jack Besh, Tez Johnson, Kayshon Boutte. Another weird room here, but I think we did the ADPs as best we could. And Kelsey and Warren are our picks there. So, okay. That is certainly a team. Even with Dennis Allen healthy, New Orleans scored 44 plus a game. Well, it's a completely different offensive coordinator now, so I think it's a different spot. But I think Carr, if they keep Carr, and contractually it does feel like they should have to keep Carr, think that, it'd be a nice overhaul there. I think Underdog, I think Hayden Winks actually doing his mock draft, had mocked a trade of the Saints getting the number 1 overall pick and taking Cam Ward. That would also be a monster outcome. A Cam Ward and a Kellen Moore offense on turf would be really sick. A lot of mocking of Loveland to the Broncos. He's not going to be as big of a target earner in the pros. I'll tell you what, Michigan has targeted him because they're Michigan. They are not the most brilliant team in the world, I think, with how they ran that offense. The New Orleans dudes have proven capable. Yes, I think they have. Look, I think Kellen Moore, I've said enough times on the show for literal years now, and now we just saw the guy be, I think, the big part of the reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Kellen Moore is one of the brightest offensive coordinators in the league, has been for years. One of the best schemers, one of the smartest, coaches overall. So to see him, thrive at that level, it's pretty good. Also, guys, I didn't tip it off, but I did, and I also did it a little bit too early, to be honest. We do have a second draft coming up here. I'm picking the 12 hole in that one, so we'll wait it out. We'll run out the string, but one more draft coming up, Splash Play. And guys, show some love if you can. Subscribe down below with the like button. Look, right now, basically until Underdog agrees to my new deal, I'm doing these drafts for the love of the game primarily, but I do want to make sure I'm still showing up here, giving you my takes on things, because frankly, much like a shepherd, I feel my flock. My flock is lost out there. Not my fantasy flock, though. Those guys are also incredibly lost. But I do feel like, I don't want to see people draft bad teams because I'm not doing streams. It's sort of how I feel about it. Not that everybody's watching my streams, but for people out there that need the help, I don't want to not do drafts. That's why I am here quite literally this week, is like, I could wait out. I could fucking say, Underdog, look, I'm not doing any drafts. You give me the money I'm owed, or not owed, but I feel like I deserve that. I think we can agree, the markets would agree that I am worth. but also, like, I'm not doing that because I love you guys, and I do think people will give you bad advice out there. Not any specific person, just in general. Like, there's bad advice out there. Oh, there we go. Nice chats between the boys. Flirting in the chat. Love to see that. GM says, hey, Nez being here. Shout out the Badge Bros. Always doing great streams. Also unabated partners. And I'll tell you what, Nez, I don't know if you know this. Badge Bros convert better than me and Davis Matic for unabated right now. So shout out Nez and the Badge Bros. Doing good work every day. And Nez killing it, of course, in best ball of all forms every day, including those daily DFS drafts. All right, got a couple more picks here before mine, and then we'll be done and on to draft number 2. I think a third tight end could be fun. A third tight end could be real fun here. Get that Washington stack. You never deposited on Underdog before? Yeah, big board drafts for 20 rounds. All the drafts this time of year, 20 rounds, I believe. Shout out Mr. Popinski. Yes, please use that promo code SPLASH. Show Underdog that occasionally we convert people here. All right, Ben Sinnott goes. Motherfucker. I would have taken Ben Sinnott at this point. We've got 9 receivers. I've taken 1 more tight end. This guy's not a good target earner, and I think I might be better off taking Theo Johnson. Like, I like Arroyo. He's getting good steam. But, like, he legit had a less than a 20% target route run rate in college. No, fuck that. I'm not falling for the trendy name. Theo Johnson, freak athlete who we saw be okay last year. We're going to go there. Draft number 2 here. Actually, let's give that team a read first. Sorry. I'm forgetting my streamer protocol here. Final team here, 2693. Patrick Mahomes, Drake May, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Jerome Ford, Rashad White, Blake Corum, Roshan Johnson. At wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, Deebo Samuel, Trey Harris, Dontavian Wicks, Jack Besh, Tez Johnson, and Keyshawn Butte. Really thought I was going to take Polk, but he went here, so I didn't get to take him with the last pick. Ended up going to third tight end. And Travis Kelce, Tyler Warren, and Theo Johnson here. As I mentioned in the last video, do you think Tyler Warren is growing in appeal to me here? I'm seeing a little bit more of the Brock Bowers-y merits of him. Still think there's a little bit of Ben Sinnott in him too, but I think I'm getting a little more on the Tyler Warren train. And now here we are picking the 12-hole. Lot of red badges here. Shady Advice, who like won some large money thing lately. A lot of guys here. Only 3 rookie tight ends I'll take the season are Warren, after ADP Pursley, Loveland, and Fannin. I agree. Mason Taylor, though, getting some steam. He doesn't really look that legit. Gunnar Helm was in the top 100 big board prospects. Tell you never is even close to anything is Luke Lachey, who I feel like Underdog just put in there to fucking ruin people's lives for a little bit. All right. So, okay, we're in a tough spot here. I think Achan's a fun pick. I think Jency's a very fun pick. I think Bowers, any of these guys, is a fun pick. But I think we're gonna have some fun. I think we're just gonna go young, explosive, high upside backs here. Playing the GIF, I deserve it. I'm an RB Piggy. It's an Achan Genty start here. Scarf him up. I can't imagine a world without running back. It's gonna be every fucking draft in 2025. There's no 0 RB anymore. I don't think it exists. We got an Achan Genty start, and now we got to take a lot of receivers later on. But we did it. We did it. We did it. Yes, Achan Genty, you got it. I did it. I did it for all of you. It's too fun. Genty is legit very fun. If I were to list my all fun rookies, it would be Genty, it would be Jackson Dart and Trey Harris. Put those two together. It would not be Matthew Golden. I don't find Matthew Golden very fun. It'd be Jalen Royals. I think he's pretty fun. Fast, fun. Tight end. Tyler Warren, definitely more fun than Loveland. Fannin, more fun than both of them. Fannin would be on the fun team. The fun team is not necessarily the best fantasy team, but it is the fun team. Yeah, that's part of why, too. Susk with a good point here. The turns coming up are also pretty good for receivers, which is why we're going to do that. You can try 0 RB, but you're accepting more risk than the past few years for sure. Look, it's still viable. I'm sure at some point I'll do 0 RB again. It's also that, like, frankly, the RBs up top are pretty appealing for different reasons. Like, especially when you have the young guys, the guys with, guaranteed roles on offense we expect to be good. It's a pretty good mix up top. I would still... I like Derrick Henry. I like Christian McCaffrey. A little bit harder for me to get excited to take those guys at this point, but you take one of them. I think you have to. People are silly when they talk about Genty. They say he can't be a 3-down back. I mean, we just saw Bucky Irving, who's much smaller, be a 3-down back. Boise State did not use Genty as a great target earner overall. He really had low numbers there, had a 17% target route run rate, negative EPA per target, negative 0.2 EPA. Those numbers aren't good. But he still had a 52% avoid tackle rate when catching the ball. So, like, he did what he had to do with his part of things. I just don't think it was schemed very well for him to get good looks. But even still, frankly, with as good of a rusher as he is, he could not get 3-down work, and it really wouldn't kill you. But, the pass protection stuff, I think we saw it with Bucky Irving this year. You saw kind of the downside of an RB who's not a built-in pass protector. Then you also saw the upside of, like, yeah, a small guy can do it if he's willing. And I think Jency's going to be very willing. Jency is a great prospect, I think, in terms of, like, a lot of what you're looking for here. No character red flags. I've liked him every time I've heard him talk. And also, you watch the video, and it's great. Do I have Jency's? I don't have it. 2023, no. I would have, where we talk 2023 to 2024 season. I have in one of the sheets, but I'm not going to look it up. But I do have it, yes. Hall should be 101 since they gave A-Rod the boot. Why? You think the thing holding him back was Aaron Rodgers? The thing holding him back is that they don't seem to want to use him as a bell cow back. And the fact that they're being linked at all to another RB, I don't think it's plausible, but it is a new regime there that could bring in their own preferred RB as well. I have no issue taking Breece Hall with where he's going, but, like, no. Strongly disagree. Bucky Irving going to 29 here. Great value for him, normally going in the high 20s. I would take Bucky Irving over Breece Hall. I would take him over Josh Jacobs. I would take him... I don't want him to go in the spot, but I'd take him over Jonathan Taylor. I'd take him over... I don't know if I'd take him over McCaffrey. Getting closer, though. I've said on every stream, I think that we've done a big board draft. You can't have a quieter 1,500-yard rookie debut than Bucky Irving had. It's just like it's batshit what he did in a timeshare last year. And granted, you're getting new offensive coordinator there, even though they are promoting from within, hopefully keeping some of the same constants we had there. You have a little bit of risk anytime there's a new OC coming in, and maybe it was all Liam Cohen's delicate genius, but he was great, man. Bucky Irving is one of my favorite clicks. I'll always have a soft spot for Tyler Algier. When I first year I maxed up EBM, got him so right, and he was a big part of driving my everything that year, my final team, all of it. But I think Bucky is probably Jaden's always gonna be number one. Jaden's always gonna be number one. In terms of RBs, though, Bucky really filled me with joy. All right, so on the clock here, good RB. Wow, you know what? I love this pocket. All right. So we have Evans and Worthy, who I'm okay with at this point. Worthy is absolutely one of these picks. Let's just get him out of the way. The tough part is, like, do we just take Jaden and try to shoot the moon here with some of the best players? Evans, though, another year trying to get 1,000 yards. Really didn't notice that he slowed down this year besides him being hurt at one point. He's always hurt a little bit. The McMillan would have to be better for Evans to not be worth this, I think. Fuck it. Let's just do the player that we like the most. Jaden Daniels, come on down. I think he's your QB1 next year. So let's do it. A 1-2-1 start. We are desperately behind at receiver. But you know what? It is what it is. Put the jersey on one more time for our boy Jaden. It is a Jaden, Achane, Genty, worthy start. Feel like we've now locked down QB. Really the one thing that could have been better, and it wouldn't be better, just be different, to be taking Bowers here, and then I'd feel like we're good at the onesies. We have a nice baseline at receiver and RB. Obviously, we're going to have to make it up at receiver in a major way, but we're doing it here. December Mike Evans. I did just fade December Mike Evans. Trying to hit his goal. Trying to get his assignment in last minute after not hitting 1,000 yards when he's supposed to in the beginning part. What do I say about Jensen going this early in the draft? This is what I thought would be the case the entire time. If you want access to him, you got to pay it. Is it a little bit tough to take a rookie at this spot? For sure. Like, he could go to Dallas. He could be competing with Rico Dowdle, and with Dowdle putting up monster games on the stretch last year, Dowdle would probably keep him at bay more than you'd want to see. But if he goes to Vegas, wheels up. If he goes to Chicago, absolute wheels up, and they get rid of Swift. He's got some outcomes that make him it. Yes. Yeah, Chris Spags is me. That was unclear. I can see why the name's maybe not big enough. But yes, I'm picking the 12 hole here. Team so far is Worthy, Jaden Daniels, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane. And we're going to get a bunch of receivers coming on. Sorry, Spencer. We're adding more shirts on. More layers. Giving you the exact opposite of what you're looking for. George Kittle at 42? That's not his ADP right now, is it? No, he reached for Kittle. Shady advice. Very sharp gambler in pretty much every format of gambling. Going up and getting Kittle. I guess he's building a Niners sitting with McCaffrey. Would be the logic for that. All right. If Dallas takes Genty, I don't know if they'd even bring back Dowdle. May depend on. I still think they would. I don't think Dowdle's getting big money. They're a team that's going to want Dowdle more than other teams will want Dowdle. Because, like, he's their guy that they actually got right for once. Allen and Burrow to the one hole. Really not smart draft capital there. There's no change in ADPs that's made it a good idea to take 2 elite QBs. I can't be clear enough about that. Unless like one of them falls incredibly, you get fucking Josh Allen falling 20 spots after ADP, grab them both on the turn, maybe. Even then, probably not. We saw it last year. Like, you don't need an elite QB to win it all. You don't need it. You actively don't need it. So stupid. The lessons people take from year to year just blow my mind. They take the lessons they want to hear. Like, oh, great, I can take old RBs now? Awesome. Like, oh, the old RBs hit last year, they're going to hit again this year. Let's see that. Wait a minute, elite QB worked out well in the regular season and then found its downside exponentially in the playoffs? Let's ignore that. Let's just take a bunch of elite QBs again. This guy's a red badge, too. Now, red badges don't mean anything anymore, but come on, man. Rashee Rice to pick 42. I also strongly feel not a good ADP right now. Oh, is it Shady's drafting robot? There you go, I'm sure. Honestly, some of these guys probably doing that under the radar. Which you're not allowed to do in the terms of service. But I mean, we all know some people out there using bots / optimizers. No, red badges didn't even matter last year. So another year of people putting in entry fees going to be even more of a pull on what red badges used to mean. Crazy to see, though. I mean, and I'm happy to see still some people with no badge at all. Though at this point, if you don't have a badge, like, then you really got to be like, how many drafts are you doing? Or like, how brand new are you? Well, the sidekick's not an auto drafter, but I know there are some players that use auto drafters, which you're not allowed to sell as a product, but people can use on their I mean, they shouldn't be using it on their private time, but they do. David Montgomery at 58 feels a little bit lofty here. All right, another good RB pocket, and now we have to take receivers. Oh, I don't love absorbing the risk on Godwin. I think we have to. Godwin here. Jerry Jeudy, I don't have a great feel for. I think it'll be a better offense, but I'm not sold on it. Gonna go Jeudy. All right, so now we're suffering at receiver. 1, 2, 3, 0. Jaden, Achane, Genty, Worthy, Godwin, Jeudy. I guess a faint chance that Godwin goes to Washington. I don't think it's likely, but that would certainly help that team look a little bit more logical. At this point, we just have to get receivers in at relatively around their ADPs because I bled myself out at receiver with the pivots that I made. Still a no badger. Haven't been in since BBM3. Oh, interesting. Okay. Time for new badges. I mean, yes, another level of badges, I guess, but I don't need it to be even more of like a weird class thing. People have always been weird about the badge stuff. But now, like, if everybody's a badge, the badges don't matter. I don't know what the answer is. Don't have an underdog badge yet, but I don't do weekly or playoff stuff, just season long. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I think I got my black badge pretty early on because I did a lot of drafts my first year going ham on it. And I'd done some the year before in BBM2 year, I think that would be. The year Liam won was when I was putting my toe in the water, doing a little bit with Pete. And then the year after that, the Crane one is when I went whole hog. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the badge system is just outdated at this point as well. But it used to be a tell of like you being in a sharp room, and now it's like there are people who've lost fucking tens of thousands on this platform that easily have the badge. Oh, they also give a badge from Pick'ems too. Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, let's see what we're getting coming up here. And guys, one little pander for things here. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, we're not on a regular schedule yet. I think this week probably going to do a draft today, or these 2 drafts today. Probably another 2 drafts on Thursday would be my guess right now. But please hit that like button. Please subscribe, leave a comment. It all goes a long way for me here. Just one guy running an NFL channel, NBA channel, trying to do the best I can, no matter what the gambling format is, to give you the best info, use the best data. That is always my promise here on Splash Play, and it's frankly because I'm gambling for myself here every day on stream. Of course, Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. Check it out with promo code SPLASH. Link in the description down below. Again, show some love if you can there. If you haven't deposited before, fucking what are you waiting for? Just do it now. Stochastic, 15% off. NBA still going on. All their data and tools, and that includes stuff. Obviously, NFL's over now, so please, for the love of God, check out some PGA. I'll be doing PGA laps this week too, at least a couple, because I got some free $25 tickets from some DraftKings promo. But please check out Stochastic, 15% off all the data, all the tools, sim stuff, cheap stuff, expensive stuff, all 15% off. And unabated, $30 off, promo code SPLASH. You want to get better at betting and use good data that top bettors use. Unabated for the NBA props they use, the conditional projections and all of that. If you placed every bet 30 minutes before tip-off, all the 5% or higher ROI bets based on their sims, you'd be up $40,000 if you're betting $100 units. You'd be up $4,000 if you bet $10 units. That's what you can do with Unabated. They track their data. It's like a legit product. It's not, I don't sell flim-flam shit here. I don't know. Unabated, though, great partner for me for the NBA channel, and be a great partner for you if you want to win more at betting, especially an Underdog and build better pick'ems. Use Unabated and support the show. Tag yourself. I'm guy who's lost tens of thousands of Underdog. Like, I got my 1099 from Underdog this year. I got 2 1099s from Underdog because I had a profit 1099 and I had a regular old fucking affiliate 1099. So Mr. 1099 and Underdog for 3 years in a row. I think so. I think I got one last year. I know I got my affiliate one last year. This was a good, honestly, this year ended up being a pretty good best ball year for me, which sucks because like it should have been a great one, I think, especially the big board. It was a pretty good year for me. Cleared 5 figures in profit. That's not enough. We want $100,000 in profit is really the goal. $10,000 is great. Oh, 100,000. Million would be the ideal. We got a 1-2-3-0 build here. We need more receivers. We passed on Evans before, so we'll take McMillan as one of these picks here no matter what. I can live with that. We now have a 1-2-4-0 build. Khalil Shakir could get displaced as the slot target in Buffalo. Jacoby Myers could get displaced. I really don't love these guys in this spot. Kelsey, I don't really want to go for the tight end. Mark Andrews, I think, can be good next year, but I'm not dying to take him. I'm going to take the tight end. I think Andrews goes back to Baltimore. I think he was good enough this year, even though he had the slow start. I think also the crushing disappointment at the end of the season, a little bit of a motivator for this year, but mostly was impressed by Andrews being consistent throughout the season. There's a chance, I guess, Baltimore can move on from him, but contract seems likely he comes back. So we'll go Andrews here. Shakir feels awful. He wasn't great this year, and this is with very little competition. I would think that he probably gets better next year, but you're going to have better receivers with him. So a little bit of a tough trade-off. Things that separate a good and great year in gambling is generally chance. That's also true. Especially in best ball. The luck component is unfortunately a feature, not a bug. 6 for 50 with 0 TDs doesn't do it for you an Underdog. He had enough 15 to 20 point days this year, though. And he had enough games where he caught 1 touchdown. But I think really the bigger thing to me is like they got to bring in somebody else. Like much like KC has to get a little bit better and get a little more talent in. And I'd say for them, try harder on offense. Buffalo needs to get somebody better in than Amari Cooper. Like they might bring Cooper back on the cheap, but they need to take. Like Buka would directly hurt Shakir. But they need like kind of a burner like that. He does bring some stability. I agree with that. Like to me, he feels like a pretty decent wide receiver 5. He also to me does feel, and I guess this worked out well for one of the guys, didn't work out well for the other. He kind of feels to me different price tag, but like Christian Kirk and Keenan Allen did, where it's like for me, a lot of times it's like, oh, this is my wide receiver 4, my wide receiver 5. This makes me feel like I've got a bow on a pretty good roster of receivers. And then it didn't end up working out that way, especially for Kirk. I think Shakir runs a risk of being a little bit of a Christian Kirk this year. And the irony is, like, I think Christian Kirk himself, as long as he goes back to Jacksonville and they don't take a big dead cap money hit on letting him go or trading him or something, I would think that Kirk himself might be in line to be a bounce back guy. But Shakir, you're paying the price tag for kind of a weird year for him, where he was like your top target by mostly inertia. He was still pretty efficient last year, though, I believe. Because he was like a 0.7 EPA per target guy the year before last. This year, 0.34. So about half as efficient as he was the year before last. But that's what's going to happen when you get more targets and you're kind of a key part of an offense as opposed to just one part of it. Let's give this team a read here. Let me recenter myself. We got Jaden Daniels, Devon Achane, Ashton Genty as our start here. Of course, going RB Piggy at the 1-2 turn. We got Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen McMillan. And then at tight end, we have Mark Andrews. So we made it up at receiver for the most part. Still need to add more volume that way. Definitely need to go back to RB at some point, even though we're pretty cozy with our top 2 here. I'm okay with the build so far. I think we solidified some stuff. Would love to have gotten a good wide receiver 5 in. We'll still have to figure that out. I don't think his 8 out was that low. Shakir's 8 out was where are we at for air yards per target? Honestly, lower than I thought. 5.8 is pretty low. Yeah, the year before last, it wasn't that bad. They just used them. They used them differently. What are you gonna do? He's still a key part of things for moving the ball. I don't think Shakir is dead, but right now, like if you add in one more, and this is one important thing to think about too with all these players really, is like if they add in another player's position, how good do you feel about that guy's ADP? So like, for Jefferson, if they add in a third receiver with, let's say they replace Naylor, they add in somebody with Addison, does it affect Justin Jefferson's upside in this spot? Probably not. Maybe a little bit. You knock him down in a couple spots, but he wouldn't fall rounds. For Shakir, if you add Ted McMillan to Buffalo, Shakir would fall 30 picks, 40 picks. Maybe one thing to keep in mind here, drafting this time of year especially. But if they add, Matthew Golden in, that also hurts Shakir, but it probably doesn't make him drop quite as much. So that's sort of the trade-off. Would also think in year 2, Keon Coleman should be closer to playable every down. Part of why I don't think they bring back Amari Cooper is like you kind of have to see what you have in Keon Coleman. But he was a guy I did not like going into year 1. Thought he had merits as a red zone guy, and they even barely used him as that. Year 2 should be better for him, you would hope. But they also could just kind of keep him where he is and bring in somebody better. Steph Diggs going here. I would not have been a player that I'd want to take. The ACL guys, I'm just not dying for this time of the season. We have a 1-2-4-1 build here. I mean, we do have our little bet on Baltimore, so I have no issue increasing that right now and taking Bateman. So let's just keep him in right now. Second tight end could be okay. Dallas Goedert obviously came on strong back half of the season. David Njoku, hopefully getting a glow up in a West Coast offense. Brian Robinson to give us some more RB depth wouldn't be bad. Travis Hunter as our wide receiver 6 with upside, or a guy like Mims who can spike occasionally to balance out a little bit of a low floor team. Man, this is a tough spot. I like Njoku. We do have a bet on Cleveland already. Yeah, all right. I'm going to go Njoku here. Don't think you're going Hunter over Mims. Hunter's numbers to me, and I was Team Genty for the Heisman, as I talked about enough here, without having dug in a crazy amount of the numbers. Hunter was a beast outside, like as a receiver. Your risk with Hunter is just like, how much is he going to play as a receiver? Because teams are going to draft him as a cornerback. I still think you should have him out there for half the snaps. If you're a smart team, you should be out there for half the snaps at receiver still. He was great, man. If he were a full-time receiver, I would be caping for him a lot higher than he's going right now. Travis Hunter, that is. But I could agree with the Mims part of it. I think Mims people are a little bit down on. I know some people in the chat, the last time we did a draft, they were like, oh, Mims, like, not that good of a player for where he's getting drafted. I think he showed as much spike week upside as anybody. He'll give you some 0-point games for sure. But like if you want to get 4 to, if he's really good next year, 4 to 10, 20-point games, he would be a guy that can hopefully do that for you. 10's probably a little bit too much. 17-game schedule on both sides of the ball. I don't know, man. Didn't he have injury issues in college? Hunter? I mean, this year he played a crazy amount of snaps. We got Herbert going at 116. Is he stacked up at all? All right, Lad McConkey drafter takes Herbert. Hey, shout to an unbadged drafter doing a clean stack draft here. Luther Burden, a guy I haven't talked up very much. Really thought he played like shit last year, but did avoid an ungodly amount of tackles for technically a guy as a wide receiver. He does feel a little Malachi Corley-ish to me. Played better competition, but feels like a guy that needs a specific role that you go out of your way to give him the ball. And hopefully if he goes in the first round, he gets that. If he goes second round, somehow falls to third, you run the risk of Burden not getting there. I do not like Burden's ADP. I think that's an awful ADP for him. It's way too close to Ted McMillan. Like, I think it aligns in terms of where his draft capital likely goes. People, I think Adam was saying before, Debo to the Steelers. Burden to the Steelers would make a lot of sense. Give him some Arthur Smith run plays there. Some jet sweeps. You can do that. Yeah, Burden to me, just not really that guy. And again, I talked about the flaws of Trey Harris here. Don't think he's going to grade out as a fast enough guy. But Trey Harris to me is like a much more complete receiver who can help the team the moment he gets on the field without being schemed bullshit. Luther Burden needs to be schemed bullshit to get any shot of being useful. Commanded targets, 28% of the time he runs a route, which is okay in the pros. It would be a good number in the pros. For college, it's going to come down. 11 yards per catch towards the lower part of the league. 59% avoided tackle rate. Batshit high. Insanely high. Also had a high avoided tackle rate in college? Quentin Johnston. Quentin Johnston had a really high one too. That was one of the reasons I took him. And I'll tell you what. So you didn't carry his avoided tackle rate too far in the pros, Quentin Johnston. But the Bird number is crazy, though. That 60% is like an impossibly high avoided tackle rate. Trey Harris goes here. Pick 128. Fair spot for him. He will probably continue to fall because the RES testing, I don't think, is going to be a positive for him. And analytically, your best receiver in the class, Trey Harris. Nice guys. Thinking about it. I feel like the second draft always drags ass for me. It always feels like people are just taking too much time thinking about it. I don't know if that's a personal feel thing or if it's actually the case. For Rashad White at pick 130. That's like Rashad White at gunpoint at pick 150 last round. This guy's reaching for Rashad White. Having some fun with it. Tyjae Spears way too low here. Yeah, I like this pick. Actually, I think this could be a 2. Well, like it's not a bad pick either. Tyjae is definitely one of them for me. Bigsby could be your power back in a much improved Jacksonville Liam Cohen offense. I don't mind Bigsby here. And he is technically an ADP value. Dowdle to me seems underpriced with how good he's been. Liggett's going to be better in year 2. And I do need more receiving firepower. But RB is going to get gross. So let's go tank Bigsby here. So a 1-4-5-2 build. Jaden Daniels by himself here, right at ADP. which is, of course, why I'm wearing the stylish jersey from our guy Dave. Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, and a tight end, Mark Andrews and David Njoku. So we got a Baltimore stack without the QB, which I'm okay with. Technically a Tampa Bay stack without the QB, but I'm not sold that Godwin goes back to Tampa Bay. Would think that's the most likely outcome, but it's not a likelihood, I would say. And we made it up at RB. So we've got our hero RBs, 2 more guys. Tyjae Spears, I feel very comfortable taking what he showed down the home stretch of the season, and which should be an improved Tennessee offense. No, we should take in Pollard either, for the record. I think both Tennessee RB is just cheaper than they are last year and probably going to be in a similar situation they were. Because I don't think they would take a rookie with their how they both played. Maybe you take one as a hedge against concussion stuff for Tyjae. And his knees, which could explode any day now. Xavier Leggett goes 140. Do you like Leggett? Leggett last year, thought the data gave him whiffs of A.J. Brown with how he played in college. Obviously didn't show that enough in year 1, but he took a while to get there in college. Think him being better in year 2 would not be a surprise to me. Think he's got a shot at being a Quentin Johnston-like year 2 reclamation project. Nice value on Tucker Kraft at 142. A Kraft, a 120 ADP. That guy got him stacked up with Love. 20 picks after ADP. That's a nice. Look, and this is one of those things that I think is important because we obviously going to talk a lot about rookies. Going to talk a lot about the free agency stuff, who's going where, the coaching changing, and all that. But like just getting guys who we know have solid roles, who played well last year, a year 2 guy in Tucker Kraft, and you're getting him as a big value along with a guy who normally you're drafting. You're not getting a lot of Love and Kraft together unless you're reaching for it much higher. So that's actually a really good move by this guy in the 3-hole. Those are the kind of things that win you a big board if you do them reliably over a course of a portfolio. It's spurious news and Mr. Popinski flirting in chat. Love to see people building real connections. Love to see it. I say flirting and I shouldn't. Dobbs too cheap. Packers, even though Josh Jacobs bitched about wanting another receiver in, no guarantee they add in somebody else too much. Yes, boy flirting. I feel like guys talking, trying to be friends, always, that's the vibe. Jake Ferguson at 147. I honestly have no feel for Jake Ferguson at this point. Really did not move forward at all in terms of his growth last year, and you had Schoonmaker and the other guy there who isn't that good, Brevin Spann-Ford, looking enough like Ferguson that I don't know he's anything special, if he ever even was. Remember when Ferguson last year, people were like dying to reach for him in the 60s and a point in BBM? And that was a bad one. Sometimes these guys who just don't have draft capital and filled in a role and played basically exactly the same as the previous guy, like Ferguson played like Dalton Schultz, and Dalton Schultz was also kind of just the guy. At a certain point, it's just the tight end role more than it is the player. Sanderson was so off Ferguson last year, and he was right. Yeah, I mean, I did not have a ton of Ferguson. Mostly because people were just too enthusiastic for him. But yeah, not one of the better picks in hindsight. A 1-4-5-2 build here. We need more at receiver for sure. Iomanor goes. Really not one of my favorite prospects. Played a lot like Michael Wilson at Stanford, and I say that not in a good way. Cam Ward going to Cleveland with this Cleveland stack we have, I think would be a reasonable take to have here. Jerome Ford is a little bit of an ADP value, and then being done at RB would be okay as well. I think Cam Ward's one of the picks I'm going to take here. Right? Fields, seemingly your presumptive Pittsburgh starter, could also be of appeal. Ford to lock down the RB room, we think. Bond. I mean, Tillman would theoretically be the triple stack. I'm taking a lot of Ford right now, which does make me want to not get Ford here, to be honest. But yeah, I think we could be done at RB with Ford. So we'll do that. Might still take a 6th RB at some point, but 2552, we got to spam receiver and get some real high upside receivers at this point. I feel like I've built not great receiver rooms today, to be honest. But a 2552 build, but that's for me, of course. I'm taking RBs. I'm going to feel like my receivers aren't good anyway, so I'm not surprised by that. Jaden Daniels, Cam Ward are my QBs right now. My favorite rookie last year, my favorite rookie QB this year for Cam Ward. Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford. The receiver, you have Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman. And at tight end, we have Mark Andrews and David Njoku. So feeling pretty good at tight end. Feeling good about getting the Baltimore stack, the theoretical Tampa Bay stack, the Cleveland stack. We got stacks of teams, which is good with and without the QB. I don't mind this team. It's always weird to me to not have enough elite wide receiver firepower. Like I don't feel comfortable as a guy. Like just how I like to draft, I don't feel comfortable with Worthy as my wide receiver 1. For as good as Worthy was on the home stretch, and as much as I believe KC next year going to have to try harder on offense, can't do the same like pulling out just enough to win bullshit for another year. And Worthy showing so much in year 1, it's going to get better in year 2. But I just don't love Worthy as a wide receiver 1. He needs to be like your wide receiver 3. I feel like, and I'd feel a lot better about that. Who do I think Tennessee takes if Ward goes to Cleveland? Tennessee now being open for trades surprises me a little bit, especially if they were like, we're going to take a generational talent at 1, and that seemed like Abdul Carter. Yeah, I don't know. I still think they should be going. They should go Hunter, I would think, if not Carter. But I don't know. I initially thought they were just going to take Cam Ward, call it a day. So that was my thought on it. I know that Cam Ward people are down on as a prospect, like relative to at least like previous year's QBs, but Cam Ward is more than good enough to me to be your top QB when you need a QB, and especially for like Brian Callahan and the kind of offense he wants to run. Like if you want a Joe Burrow approximation, and not that Cam Ward is Joe Burrow, but like Cam Ward's your closest in this draft, unless you really believe in Jackson Dart. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe Tennessee loves Jackson Dart, and they're going to be the one that gets him in the second round. And that's why they're so like seemingly just not in on a QB. But I think somebody trading up to take Ward at 1 is a possibility as well. Who knows? Frankly, Hunter going 1, I think wouldn't be crazy either. Good enough DB. Callahan could play him as the wide receiver 3. And you hopefully upgrade the wide receiver 2 spot a little bit. Honestly, you could take probably a slot for cheap in this draft. You could take who would I take later in the draft? No, Nick Nash, I guess would be one. You take a Restrepo, like in the 3rd round, potentially. I know some people think he's going to go 2nd. I find it hard to believe. Take Restrepo 3rd round or late 2nd with Hunter and Dart. It'd be a pretty sick haul for Tennessee. My brother's a season ticket holder. Big issues out there with overcharging PSLs for the new stadium, and now the team is dog shit. Tough times in Nashville. Interesting. The team has got hope, I think. I feel like they have hope. I thought they flashed down the home stretch. They didn't give up down the home stretch, which I thought was a big win for him. Jalen Royals goes, which would have been a very nice bailout for me. Player who I like. So does Wicks. Wicks would have been a good bailout for this receiver room, but they are gone, unfortunately. I have to start to set a higher price tag for Jalen Royals, because I would like to get him in more drafts than not at this point. Alec Pierce, taking a shot on him without his QB. A lot of whispers of Jaden Higgins going the 2nd round. I'm not sold on that. I'm going to go Alec Pierce for one of these. Thought he flashed really well as a downfield target last year. And for best ball, he can give me some usable weeks to make up for this room not being exactly where I want it to be. Wandale's a decent click, and he could be paired with Cam Ward and the Giants. Do think Neighbors takes a leap next year, though, which could make Wandale even more useless, but I'll take Wandale here. He did go up in receiving yards this year, which honestly didn't feel like to me in season. But he did put up. I can't click his stats anymore. Didn't there used to be a drop down that would make the stats still appear? Well, anyway, I'm surprised his receiving numbers went up last year, given how bad the QB wasn't adding Neighbors, but he had an okay year last year. Let's give the team a read. 2572. So did punt on receiver early, took Achane and Genty with my first two picks in the turn. So as a result, as this is not a standard Spags team, we got Jaden Daniels with one of our early picks, Cam Ward, Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford. So guys, you're hopefully getting better offenses and similar situations we hope to last year. Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, Alec Pierce, Wandale Robinson. That wide receiver room does not put the fear of God into you, I'll tell you what. And Mark Andrews, David Njoku. I feel like we need another 3 credible receivers is how this team feels to me. But I like the RB room. I like getting Jaden and Cam Ward. I'm good with the tight ends. I think Andrews and Njoku are good tight ends to have. I'm okay with this team, but the receivers, man, are just... This is like a team from last year, and we could certainly bounce back to good receivers being good again this year. It'd certainly be a possibility. Oh, is that it? Okay, good call. Good call. There used to be a way. They used to make it so you could click drop down, though. I'm pretty sure. But let's look at Wandale Robinson so I can complete this. Yeah, so 600 yards, or actually 700 yards last year, 3 touchdowns. So he had the most touchdowns and yards of his career. Obviously, he was also available for most of the year this year, which has not been the case for Wandale. But there we go. Now we've completed it. Nice range for your 5th, 6th RBs here, I think. If you have good ones already. Braylon Allen, Lloyd. Mason, I probably wouldn't take again this year. Grendo's probably past him in the pecking order. And you certainly don't want to do, even though it worked out that way last year, you don't really want to be taking RB3 contingent value. I know Niners people who drafted these guys last year might be spoiled by that. You still mostly want to take guys who are starters. Yeah, Rod, I think running a little bit behind, but yeah, we got it. We got it. Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it. All right. Anything else to point out in this point of a draft? Pop Douglas feels like a fragile guy at this point for New England. They can add somebody else that would displace him. And honestly, New England should do a lot different this year. Frankly, the receivers in New England, none of them might be appealing by the time we actually get down to it. With the coaching staff they're bringing in and a Mike Vrabel helmed situation. Even though we took Drake May last draft, I probably didn't talk enough about the downsides of New England potentially. In case we've forgotten, the Tennessee experience for that offense was often not the most electric offense in football. And in fact, a lot of it came down to people wondering why didn't throw more to A.J. Brown? Why didn't throw more to player X or Y? Why didn't throw to... I mean, Corey Davis got targeted a lot in that offense, I guess. Derrick Henry getting the ball endlessly. Obviously expect to be a little bit different here and, different offensive coordinator as well with old Josh McDaniels coming back in the tow. But New England is a team that it's going to be a weird one. Though I would still take shots on Free, Polk, Butte, a little bit cheaper ideally than this guy took him. Take your shots. All right. Woody Marks, who everybody loves to ask about. Most mediocre USC running back. And he's honestly, he's just a back. He's literally like just a dude. But so are many of the guys in this class. 2572 here. Diami Brown, Malik Washington, Tez Johnson. We need more receivers. Michael Wilson was just useless last year. No, he got 4 touchdowns, I guess. Diami Brown's going to get displaced. Ran hot in the playoffs, though. Kind of feels like just a guy. I'm going to take Tez Johnson here for one of the picks. I also think I like Gabe Davis more than some of these guys. It's hard for me to imagine Jacksonville overhauling their receiver core entirely this year. And I think no matter what, it's just going to be a better offense this year because having Liam Cohen there. Really one of those guys who won me over a lot in his role last year and what he did after he was not somebody I was buying in on coming in from Kentucky. So I'm going to go Gabe Davis here in round 18 for free as my wide receiver 9. We have a 2-5-9-2 build here. And frankly, I might get to 11 receivers. I just don't feel good about this receiver room. We got Jaden Daniels, Cam Ward, Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford. Very solid RB room, in particular the top 2 that we took with really good draft capital at the 1-2 turn. We got Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin coming off his injury. We don't love the injury guys, but we just needed to get some good receivers or theoretical good receivers in. Jerry Jeudy, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, Alec Pierce, Wan'Dale Robinson, Tez Johnson here, the Oregon rookie who will be testing well as a burner, even though the size is not going to be great. Gabe Davis as well, and then Mark Andrews and David Njoku. So I think we're live for the very least one more receiver, and possibly 2. Take a sip of water here. Got a long wait until these last 2 picks. Rashard Smith is a name I have seen no one mention, having read pretty much every mock draft out there and pulled in data from everything. Who is this Rashard Smith? Good. A guy with a 15% avoided tackle rate. Awful. 0.09 EPA. He gets stuffed in the run more than he misses a tackle. 16% stuffed run rate. Wasn't good versus 8-man boxes. 27% stuffed run rate there. One of the worst in the draft. Yeah, you got to take that guy. Got to take him. What do people think is going to happen with the RBs this year? Like, do people think that there's just going to be 15 RBs that play in week 1 at the or play even by week fucking 17? I really can't defend that take enough. Like, I think people expect it. You guys, this might be a tough reference for some of you guys. It's an old movie now. And also one I'm sure many of you never watched. I've only recently gotten to watch Cars 3 because Luca is very into the Cars movie series. We watched them a good amount while Alex is out of town for the 2 trips in the last couple of weeks. Finally finished Cars 3. So in Cars 3, Lightning McQueen is old. He's an older racer. He can't keep up with the fast new cars that also have advanced analytics and simulators and whatever. And they're really good and like whatever. And one by one, the cars from Lightning McQueen's generation retire. They're just like forced out because these new cars too fast, too good. They can't keep up. Is that what people think the RB class is? It's just like all of them, they're just going to fucking give up and they're all just going to retire. It doesn't matter if you're an okay pass catcher. And he's not really that good of a pass catcher. He ran 11 routes a game. Or no, hold on. Sorry. I changed the sheet over. Got to fucking put this back in to point out why a guy sucks. He ran 10 routes a game, even less. Ran 10 routes a game, got targeted to get him out running a route, 35% target per route run. Didn't avoid a ton of tackles at a 0.19 EPA. It's just like, Rashard Smith is not going to fucking make it. I mean, this will be the one, of course, because I'm calling it out. He's going to be, I'm sure, the one steal of the draft that nobody saw coming. But it's like, fucking Mullings here? What? Everybody's going to play. Everybody's going to play, right? You're better off taking... And I like Damian Martinez, but like you're better off taking Estime. You're better off taking Gibson, who's probably back in New England, and they're going to fucking do some bullshit with RBs at a good amount. You don't have to click a name just because it's new. It's really the main thing to me. Die on that hill. Cars 3 is great. Cars 3 is very... Cars 2 is a weird fucking movie because it's like a spy thriller. Cars 3 is really good because it's about like mortality and learning and growth and... Really, and I thought a really good movie. The tough part is like, you know, and I get it, like, because I still, my eyes roll some of it too. The tough part is like they introduced like a Latina woman car as like the new Lightning McQueen. And it's like, oh, that's just, it wasn't it. That wasn't the way to do it if you're going to try to transition the series. But I personally like Cruz Ramirez. I think she's a great racer. But, you know, like with what the culture is, like you're not going to win people over going like, oh, let's get rid of the Owen Wilson car for Cruz Ramirez. So we just met in this movie. They should have had like a young car the entire series, like a little kid car who was there in the town in Radiator Springs. Then that kid becomes new Lightning McQueen. Then you win it. And honestly, if we're being real about it, probably had to be a boy. Because Cars is for the fucking boys. I can tell you what. You got 2, 5, 9, and 3. Not even being sexist. Like, my kid just fucking got obsessed with Cars the moment that he became like 2.5. We got 2, 5, 9, 2 build here. I think we're done at QB. I think we're done at tight end. Would like to get a few more receivers in. Jalen Noel is getting hype. He sucks. Kind of think I might do another RB here. I do Audric Estime. RB6. Why not? And then one more receiver in here. You know what? You know who's probably leaving the Giants? Is Darius Slayton. You know who could come in and give us another Giants stack? Jalen Hyatt here for free as wide receiver 10. So, again, don't throw out your guys who once you had hopes for, because maybe they're in a new situation. For Jalen Hyatt, being blocked by Darius Slayton has been a big issue. And QB play, and now he could be getting an upgrade for both if Cam Ward goes to the Giants. So a 2-6-10-2 build here. Normally go with the 3s at the onesies, but we just needed a lot more receivers. Jaden Daniels, Cam Ward, Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford, Audric Estime. We got Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, Alec Pierce, Wandale Robinson. It's just a clown car. People, it's like the Kendrick Lamar GNX at the Super Bowl. Just everybody coming out from somewhere. We got Tez Johnson, Gabe Davis, Jalen Hyatt, and a tight end, Mark Andrews and David Njoku. Weird team for me. We got a lot of spike guys at receiver, so I think we made up from having like dudes I trust. I would love to have a baseline of one dude I trust weekly at receiver here. But I think this team works. I think it works. So that's it. That's your big board drafts for today. Check the chat. Should be doing movie reviews. If I were to launch new channels, it'd probably be MLB next. And it would probably be, I would still have to do a wrestling channel. But it's all more work. It's all tough to do more work. But I also don't think the views would be there quite as much as I've learned launch new stuff here. But guys, for this channel, please show some love if you can. Subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment. Splash play on that very slow crawl to 5K subs, but I'll show up here doing the work. This week, it'll probably be Tuesday and Thursday. Hope is to get back to 5 days a week, but we'll see how Underdog gets back to me over these next few weeks, and we'll figure out what the haul is for 2025 some point soon. Sponsors, Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. Check them out. Link in the description. If for some reason you're watching the stream, you haven't played an Underdog, it is a fun site to play on, even though it is chaos right now. People not knowing what to do in the big board and ADPs and really just everything. Stochastic for DFS, of course, will be on the NBA channel later today at Splash Play NBA at 4 p.m. talking about the DFS slate. Get some sim lineups, get yourself DFS projections, all that great data and betting tools as well. It's all at Stochastic for 15% off with promo code SPLASH. And Unabated, sponsor of the NBA channel, get $30 off, get better in betting using market-based data or their projections for stuff like NFL at Unabated. So check it out for yourself, unabated.com. Promo code SPLASH, link in the description. Join down below for $4.99. Get added to a VIP Discord. Get my data, get my drops, get all my info that I put into the Discord. And I do try to keep it so I give you guys what my real thoughts are on things, especially on the Discord. So check it out in there. I'm not saying that like, oh, it's too hot for like, just like things that are stewing in my brain that I'm thinking about. I drop it in there in hopes that it adds value to you guys on the regular, almost every day. And gamble more responsibly, guys. Even though it's money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Check out the NBA channel at Splash Play NBA. And I'll be back probably on Thursday with more big board drafts. So check you out then. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.